are you from Kuwait? How are you from Berlin? Uh, it's a pleasure to interact with you guys after a while. So I have been away after I did the obvious hair transplant. So a bit about that, since it's the elephant in the room and I have to address it. So I honestly was not thinking about doing a hair transplant here in Turkey, even though the national carrier of Turkey changed from Turkish Airlines to Turkish Airlines. Even though that is the case, I still wasn't planning on doing a hair transplant. But one day I woke up and there were these sleep lines in my head. And I make a lot of content, I'm on video a lot, and it's just something that I have to think about. So I proposed to my wife. I was like, what should we do about this? We started thinking, oh, maybe we can get like silk pillowcases, maybe. We started looking online, and then I thought to myself, well, I am in Turkey. Maybe I should think about doing this hair transplant thing. But I wasn't going to go to Istanbul. I'm in Fethiye on the south coast of Turkey. I wasn't going to go to Istanbul to do it, so I decided, if there's a reputable place in Fethiye, then I'll check it out. And we actually found a place that had really good reviews. I made an appointment. I went within a week. I was doing the hair transplant surgery or operation. So really, between deciding and actually getting the operation, it wasn't even a week. So yeah, that's how this came to be. Obviously, when they do the operation, they put a lot of anesthetic in your head, and so for the next 2-3 days, you're kind of swollen, and that's why I couldn't make videos during that period. And basically, you have to be very careful of anyone like touching the top of your head. You can't really exercise during this period. You can't go out if there's extreme heat or sunlight. So you really have to be careful with your scalp, the area of the operation. And so basically, for 2 weeks, I was almost grounded indoors. I couldn't go out. That's basically the story of my hair transplant here in Turkey. And in terms of whether I'm glad I did it or not, I am. I'm glad I did it. It's something that I don't have to worry about, and the sleep lines that is something less for me to worry about. Would I advise other people to do it? I'm not really sure. I think to each his own. Actually, I wouldn't. I would have a neutral stance on that. If anyone asked me whether they should do it or not, I would probably have a neutral stance. And I should also say that it's kind of early in the process. I don't know how I'll feel about it 6 months from now or 12 months from now. What I can say for sure is that if you are bald, this is not a source of shame at all. It's not something that you should be embarrassed about. It's actually, I think Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu he was bald. There's no shortage of bald figures in history that were great men. It was just for that specific reason, which is the sleep lines that I started seeing, and me creating so much content that I decided to do the hair transplantation operation. So yeah, if there's enough interest, I don't know really how much interest there is. I do get the occasional comment, but if there is enough interest, just leave a like or a comment, and I'll do an interview with the doctor that actually did my operation, and I can ask whatever questions you guys want answered, inshallah. All right, we are an Islamic finance halal investing channel. So let's talk about the markets, and that's kind of something that I want to do. I was thinking about it during this break, which is I'd like to do some more lives where I can get some real-time interaction with you guys um, and talk about markets in real time as opposed to the recorded videos, which are, sometimes they lag. I think recorded videos are important, especially when you're doing like a deep dive into a particular topic. But for like quick market updates, I think lives are really useful. So I may start doing more of these if you guys have interest. So, and I'll figure out how to make these lives more and more sophisticated, inshallah, and share more my screen and so on. But for now, let's talk about the macro economy. This week, I think the main headline was Fitch downgrading the U.S. credit rating from AAA to AA plus. These are not battery sizes; these are actually credit ratings. Basically, um, they downgraded the U.S. government's credit rating, and basically that means it's not the highest class of credit rating anymore. It's the one right below it. And you may be thinking, and this is a very legitimate question to ask, how is the US government at any risk of not repaying its debt if it can print money on demand? Well, the issue is that when you print money, you're basically creating debt in today's system, and debt needs two sides. It needs a lender and a borrower. What has been happening is that with the increase in the money supply, the constant printing of more and more money, especially US dollars, the value of every one US dollar starts to fall. And lenders don't like to be repaid in currency in the future that they know is going to be worth a lot less than what it is today. And the more debt the US accumulates, and now debt to GDP is at a record high, and that's one of the reasons why Fitch downgraded the US debt's credit rating. The more debt that gets printed, the more money that gets entered into circulation, the less each US dollar is worth and the less attractive lending to the US government or buying US treasuries becomes. So this is a really big problem and it's spiraling out of control. Fitch has downgraded, as we mentioned, the US credit rating, but it's noteworthy here that Moody's has downgraded the US government's debt a while ago. And so this is sort of not something that is really new, although it is part of a larger trend, I think, which is the unraveling of the current monetary system. Now, whether that happens in sort of a bang or ends in a whimper is anyone's guess, but make no mistake about it, the monetary system will end up collapsing as it is today, unless there's some sort of huge overhaul or reformation that happens. The question becomes, okay, how does this relate to us as Muslims? Well, in terms of our investing, we don't, engage in bonds, interest-bearing debt instruments anyway. However, as these bonds become less attractive, it is conceivable that this money, the amount that is parked there now, investors start to pull the money out of that asset and put it into other assets like stocks, like real estate, like cryptocurrencies. And perhaps, the Bitcoin maxis will be basically, shouting from the rooftops, this is what Bitcoin is for, this is what Bitcoin came to solve. And in fact, I do think there is some merit to that claim. So it's conceivable that something like the collapse of the monetary system, or the further degradation of the credit rating of the US, we'll see more and more outflows from US treasuries and into other assets. So I think it's important not to be too heavy on cash. I think it's a good idea to have 3 to 6 months cushion. But beyond that, I think you really need to understand how to put any excess cash that you have and distribute it amongst promising assets. What the macroeconomy is going to do 1 month from now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, nobody knows. I mean, I'm kind of getting pessimistic almost, or nervous, in the face of all this newfound optimism that's in the market, because typically, market participants are a contra-indicator in terms of their sentiment. And even the Fed, if you look like 3 months ago, 6 months ago, the Fed was saying, "Oh, well, a recession is coming. A recession is coming." The entire market was saying the same thing: a recession is right around the corner. And lo and behold, in their last meeting, they say, "Oh, well, actually, a recession may not be coming." Well, they may have been wrong, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, and they may be wrong now. So if the Fed doesn't know what the heck is coming around the corner, then the individual retail investor definitely doesn't know. What the tried and true method for dealing with these times is not to try to predict the future necessarily, but rather to look at what is today and the valuations that are today, and say, okay, is this asset undervalued or overvalued? And invest based on that, not based on what you think the macroeconomy is going to do in 3 months or 6 months. I do think that we're kind of sort of hitting, if I had to guess, I do think that there's more potential for downside from here than there is upside. I mean, we kind of are hitting a ceiling here on our upside. Any further from here, and I think we may be entering overvalued territory. And that's why, actually, for my PIF portfolios for the last few months, actually, I've really cut back on my buying. I wasn't really buying anything. I was rebalancing the portfolios based on winners and losers, but I wasn't really doing much new buying. Last week I did some new buying, and as opportunities present themselves, I'll do more and more buying. And I think you can count that the more, or the further downward the market goes, the more buying I'm going to do, inshallah. Yeah, so my 2 cents here when dealing with the markets today: don't try to predict the macroeconomy. Deal with the assets as they are today. Are they overvalued or undervalued? Based on their fundamentals, make your investment decisions based on that. And just a final note based on cryptocurrency. So I do think that, with all this happening, the use case for Bitcoin, and I would say in broader terms, even though this may upset some Bitcoin maxis, in broader terms, proof of work, decentralized cryptocurrencies like Litecoin and Dogecoin, the time for these assets may be coming. And so I think it's probably not a bad idea to have some exposure to these assets, because, as I mentioned, the current monetary system is not going to hold itself. I don't know for how long it can continue, but it really can't go on indefinitely. This has become clear. I think you'll find a pretty broad agreement on this. So with that, let's look at the comments that we have. And thank you everyone for leaving a comment. Assalamu alaikum in Canada, in Europe. Uh, yeah, indeed, I'm in the Mecca of hair transplants. Coming holiday to Turkey. Can I meet you? Absolutely, I would love to meet if you're in my neck of the woods. Thank you for the welcome back. And yeah, I just wanted to say salam. It's been a while, and inshallah, we'll see you guys again soon. And if you like these types of sort of spontaneous live events and commentary on the market, leave a like, and I'll do more of them, inshallah. All right, take care. Assalamu alaikum.